A post-COVID world. It's a phrase that ignites both hope and uncertainty. Hope for a return to normalcy, but uncertainty about how our global economy will shape up. As we navigate through this ambiguity, we turn to the voices of those in positions of influence, those who have their finger on the pulse of global affairs. S Jaishankar's recent comments on global economy are concerning, as he said, "We see very difficult and turbulent times ahead." Now, how does that translate in the broader picture, and what does that mean for India's growth and economy? Before we dive in, please subscribe to the channel and stay always one step ahead to know all global important events happening around you. Give a thumbs up and share the video with your family and friends. Let's move on with the video. External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar on Thursday characterized the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, followed by conflict in Ukraine on the global economy, as very traumatic and predicted very difficult and turbulent times ahead. He made the remarks at the Joint Secretary session of the Senate's External Affairs and Defense Commission, Rome. Addressing the session, Jaishankar said, "We see, very frankly, very difficult times ahead, very turbulent times ahead. Over the past 5 years, the impact of COVID-19 has been deeply traumatic, not only on the global economy, but also on societies. There are still many countries and many societies which have not recovered from it." The External Affairs Minister highlighted that numerous countries are grappling with financial crises and debt issues, further exacerbated by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. "We have seen that progress in sustainable development goals in many countries has been rolled back, and many more countries today are facing a financial economic crisis, and debt is a very big problem. Trade has been very challenging," Jaishankar said. He also noted the global repercussions of the conflict in Ukraine, stating, "We have had the conflict in Ukraine. In a globalized world, it has affected every part of the world. Europe is, of course, the most affected part, but even further regions have seen energy problems, food problems, inflation. All of this in many places have directly driven by what has come out of the Ukraine conflict." Jaishankar emphasized Italy's historical significance as one of India's oldest links to Europe and its substantial contributions in strengthening cooperation with the European Union. Next, we have the issue of high interest rates. Now, these can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, they're a tool used by central banks to keep inflation in check, but on the other hand, high interest rates make borrowing more expensive. This can slow down economic growth, as businesses may hesitate to invest in new projects or expansion plans due to the higher cost of capital. Consumers, too, might cut back on spending, especially on big-ticket items that are often financed through loans. This reduced spending can lead to a slowdown in economic activity, further exacerbating economic challenges. Italy is historically among our oldest links with Europe. In recent years, Italy has also made a very major contribution to strengthening cooperation with the European Union as a whole. We have been in the midst of negotiations since 2021, a set of agreements, the most important of which is a free trade agreement with the European Union, one on geographical indications, also on investment. These are complex negotiations, Jaishankar said. He added, "We also have last year set up a Trade and Technology Council with the European Union. The EU only has 2 of these councils, one with the United States and one with India. The fact that the EU, the US, and India are today coordinating and cooperating very closely on technology matters is something which is very important to recognize. These factors, combined, create a daunting economic landscape, one that requires careful navigation. The world's economy is interconnected like a complex web. When one part trembles, the entire structure feels it. So, how will these global issues affect India's growth story? India, as a key player in the global economy, is not immune to the economic tremors of the post-COVID world. The anticipated difficult times, marked by wars and high interest rates, pose both challenges and opportunities for India's growth story. Firstly, let's look at the challenges. High global interest rates could significantly increase India's borrowing costs. This is particularly concerning as India relies heavily on external financing to fuel its growth. Additionally, the ongoing economic crisis in neighboring countries like Sri Lanka, due to debt stress and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, could have spillover effects on India's economy. Furthermore, as the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has highlighted, the urgent threat of climate change to India's economy is real. India, being among the countries most vulnerable to climate change, will have to bear substantial costs to mitigate and adapt to its impacts. But it's not all doom and gloom. These global economic issues also present opportunities for India. As countries grapple with economic recovery post-COVID, India's strong fundamentals and resilience could attract foreign investors looking for stable growth prospects. Moreover, India could leverage its influential position in the G20 to mobilize support for developing countries burdened with debt. This not only strengthens India's global standing, but could also foster stronger economic relations with these countries, opening up new avenues for trade and investment. Lastly, the crisis could be a catalyst for India to accelerate its transition towards a green economy. The urgency of climate change presents opportunities for India to lead in renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and green technology, sectors that are projected to see exponential growth in the coming years. It's clear that India, like the rest of the world, will have to adapt and innovate to navigate these economic challenges. It's a lot to take in, this vision of a post-COVID world economy, but understanding these issues is the first step towards addressing them. We began by presenting S Jaishankar's prediction of challenging times ahead for the global economy. A world still reeling from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, now facing the threat of wars and high interest rates. A landscape of uncertainty that, while daunting, provides a crucial context for our discussions about the future. Next, we delved into the reasons behind this prediction. The economic fallout of the pandemic has been far-reaching, with countries like Sri Lanka struggling under the weight of debt, food shortages, and skyrocketing prices. The world is not only battling a health crisis, but also an economic one. We also discussed the potential for conflict and the impact of high interest rates, factors that could further strain the global economy. Then we turned our attention to India, exploring how these global trends might impact the country's growth story. We noted that India, like many other countries, is not immune to these challenges. The threat of climate change, the need for debt relief, and the call for the protection of rights and independence of the judiciary were all highlighted. But it's not all doom and gloom. We also acknowledged India's potential to mobilize the G20 nations to assist developing countries burdened with debt and to lead in reducing emissions. India's role in the global economic stage could be pivotal, and its actions could have far-reaching implications. In conclusion, we are entering a period of economic uncertainty. However, with uncertainty comes the opportunity for change and growth. As S Jaishankar rightly pointed out, these are indeed difficult times, but they also present a chance for us to reassess, reevaluate, and rebuild. It's a challenging outlook, but with challenge comes opportunity. As we navigate the post-COVID world, it's essential to keep these economic realities in mind.